You can have the perfect day. Meals, meds, mood, all on point, and like clockwork, chaos hits at sunset. What if I told you that that's not random? Sundowning is a predictable brain event, and if you can understand the neurology behind it, then you can prevent 80% of these meltdowns from happening in the first place. Hi, for those of you who are new here, my name is Dr. Sinclair. I'm a neuropsychologist, dementia care specialist, and founder of the Confident Caregiver Academy. Let's jump on in. Sundowning isn't random, care partners, it's biological. In a healthy brain, our suprachiasmatic nucleus, that's a small cluster of neurons, of brain cells housed in the hypothalamus, that acts as our master clock. It tells the body when to release melatonin for sleep and when to release cortisol for alertness. Well, that gets damaged with dementia, and the day-night starts to get scrambled in your loved ones with dementia. Add to that, care partners, unfortunately, your loved ones with dementia now are having sensory processing decline. What that means is what they are taking in from what they see, smell, taste, hear, etc., that is starting to get scrambled and skewed for them as well. So now what they're seeing at nighttime, shadows become super threatening. It looks like someone's there in the house wanting to get them. Noises start to sound louder than they really are, and things against your loved one's skin can feel really confusing and uncomfortable. So the evening hours between 4 and 7 with that fatigued brain, it's a perfect storm for confusion and anxiety, and that's what you're witnessing typically around that time with sundowning. So you have a scrambled suprachiasmatic nucleus, and you also have scrambled sensory processing that's going on with your loved ones with dementia. Recipe for disaster. The way that I explain it, care partners, is imagine the dementia-affected brain like a house where all the clocks are broken, okay? Some of the clocks are running too fast, some run too slow, none of them are in sync. When you have clocks that are out of sync, you also feel out of sorts, right? So dinner feels like midnight. Even the space around you feels unsettling. That's what sundowning is. When there's a broken clock, it throws everything else out of sync. Time feels out of sync, place feels out of sync, space feels out of sync. Everything feels chaotic and confusing. That is what sundowning does to a dementia-affected brain. As I mentioned, care partners, the suprachiasmatic nucleus, the brain's timekeeper, sits deep within the hypothalamus, and it uses light to tell the body what time it is. Well, that system gets destroyed with dementia, and the suprachiasmatic nucleus is not able to process light properly. And the result is that melatonin, our hormone that's related to sleep, that tells our body when it's time to sleep, that doesn't rise as it should. And cortisol, the hormone that tells our body when to be alert, that doesn't fall as it should. So things are out of sync. What happens when it's out of sync is that the body ends up being wired when it should be calming down. And so you're going to notice your loved one, as the evening hours are approaching, they're starting to get restless. They're pacing. They're getting agitated with you. And it's typically occurring within that 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. window, right as their brain should be processing the evening light properly, and it's struggling to do so. The role of the amygdala when shadows look like threats. As the sun sets, care partners, shadows start to grow, lighting changes, right? This is what happens when evening starts to come upon us. Well, care partners, for a normal brain, this is typical. We're used to this. However, for a dementia-affected brain, that starts to trigger alarms, okay? The lighting is changing and the brain is struggling to process that properly. That's going to trigger our amygdala, our fear center, our alarm center that tells us that something is wrong. Once that alarm center is triggered, care partners, the brain starts going on overdrive and start taking very innocuous, innocent things and making them something more than they are. So a shadow now becomes someone's hiding in the house, or your loved one may accuse you of hiding people in the house. They may see glares from up above onto the floor, and that may look very different to a sundowning brain, right? They may get so dysregulated that they feel anxious and they say, I want to go home. I want to go home, because the time and space doesn't look like their home. This doesn't feel familiar to them. This feels unsettling and scary. And so they just want to feel safe. So if your loved one is saying there's strangers in the home, or your loved one is saying that something strange is on the floor, or you're hiding someone, or I want to go home, it's because their systems are so skewed and scrambled, and it's now setting off alarms in their fear center, and they are terrified with a sundowning experience. It may not seem like it's terrifying to you. Their fear may come out as anger and agitation. So they may yell at you and tell you, get away from them. It may be coming out as anger, but what's really happening for them, care partners, is that their systems are so scrambled, it's terrifying and it's uncomfortable to even be inside of their body with a sundowning experience. It's just truly so sad, both for them and for you as the care partner witnessing it. If this is helpful to you, care partners, if you've never had anyone explain to you what's happening in your loved one's brain, then please go ahead and like and subscribe to this channel. It allows me to continue to educate you, but it also tells YouTube to send this out to other caregivers who are struggling, who've never gotten this information either. Okay, let's continue. The sensory overload effect. All day long, care partners, your loved one's brain with dementia has been working overtime because it has dementia. So it's been working far harder than your and my brain has, okay? By the evening hours, your loved one's brain is just exhausted. It now has to process one more sound in the background. It has to process one more shadow. It has to process, right, all the things that our brains process, and it's just too much. That's called cognitive overload. The brain is just exhausted. And that's why sundowning seems as though it came on suddenly. The rage came on suddenly. Their restlessness came on suddenly. Needing to process the lighting changes, needing to process this new time of day. It was just the straw that broke the camel's back. When you add to that, the evening hours is typically when your loved one is also hungry, right? The brain has to process that. When your loved one's tired, right? Add to that if they missed a nap, right? All of the things that just slowly added throughout the day, that evening hours, it's just boom. It's just too much for your loved one with dementia. So it looks as if it came on suddenly, but it's not sudden, care partners. It's indicative of a brain that's been working all day and it's now so exhausted and now is sundowning. We're going to get on to what do you do about that. The caregiver's nervous system often sings to their loved ones. What do I mean by that, care partners? Well, when your loved one starts to spiral in the evening, oftentimes, unfortunately, you do too, right? When they start yelling at you, you are patient, and then you you yell back because you just can't take it anymore, right? When they start accusing you of hiding someone in the closet, you fling the doors open. There's no one in the closet. You look under the bed. There's no one under the bed, right, care partners? As they start to spiral, unfortunately, you spiral too. And it's often because you're just trying to explain to them that what they're seeing isn't real. And unfortunately, you cannot explain this away, care partners, not to a dementia-affected brain. So I'm going to show you what to do instead. Practical evening calm plan. Okay, care partners, you now understand what sundowning is. You understand that your loved one's master clock is scrambling that daytime and nighttime cues. You also understand that when that happens, the amygdala, the alarm center, gets overactive and starts looking for threats that aren't there. And you also understand that sensory overload can build throughout the day, causing that fragile brain to hit its limit. Okay, those are some of the variables related to sundowning, and here's now what you can do about it. First and foremost, care partners, use warm lighting, particularly amber lighting, starting at about 4 p.m. You can go a bit earlier at about 3:30 p.m. What you're doing there, care partners, is you are helping to send the light cues to the brain because your loved one's clock is not processing that information properly. Avoid TV news or fast-paced shows after dinner. Care partners, remember your loved one already has an overactive amygdala. The news or any other fast-paced shows might be too stimulating for their brain. Keep your tone and body language slow, rhythmic, and predictable. Again, that amygdala is scanning for danger and threat that isn't there. When you can remain calm and give safety cues to your loved one's brain, that helps to calm them down as well. Finally, care partners, pair routine with comfort cues. Familiar music, a blanket, a favorite scent, a candle going on in the background, that sends comfort cues to a brain that's dysregulated and feeling unsafe. These simple, consistent signals, care partners, helps to create that sense of safety that your loved one with dementia is struggling to create on their own. When sundowning signals something more. Care partners, I do want to offer a bit of disclaimer here in that a new behavior that you see in the evening or worsening behavior in the evening is not necessarily sundowning. It could be indicative of your loved one struggling with a UTI or an illness or some other medical condition. I always advise that if you notice a new behavior or progression of symptoms, that you always take your loved one in to be checked out by their healthcare team. Don't always assume that it's sundowning. It could be something more significant health-wise going on for your loved one with dementia. Care partner, I hope that today's video allowed you to understand the struggle of the dementia-affected brain during a sundowning episode. If you are equally struggling with showing up and caring for your loved one with dementia and you need the tools to do this more confidently, then feel free to book a call with me down below and we can discuss the many ways in which we can work together. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.